Alright everyone, I'm not 100% on how I'm gonna film this or explain it or whatever. It's probably one of those videos where really I should have written something down, so just be prepared because all this is, you know, just kind of as it comes into my head or whatever. So some of the timescales that I'm going to come out with might be a bit off, but they're going to be sort of thereabouts. You'll have to excuse me looking like shit as usual. I've got a tendency to do any of this filming that right as soon as I've come back from the gym, and right now I do feel like I'm sat on the surface of the sun. I'm fucking hot. This will be the first video that was actually meant to be like the first video for the channel. The arse end of 2017 started this channel up thinking I was going to have some of this building work done to kind of do a running, you know, vlog or documentary or whatever you want to call it, of what I do, you know, with exotics and all this different stuff. Because believe it or not, besides the 4 people who watch this, I do get asked a lot by a lot of people, message constantly about this and that to do with reptiles, mostly snakes and stuff, but marine aquariums too, and a bit of everything really. But anyway, so I'll give you the story of how this came about, where we are now, and then every video from here on this series, you know, we can just sort of get on with it then. I'm going to try my hardest not to ramble too much, but you know what I'm like. All 4 of you. In 2017, the arse end of 2017, I think we got the keys in about October. We moved in like December, beginning of December or something like that. I had about, we've gone from living in a rented house to having our own house. We had a very short amount of time to get the fuck out of the old house and get in this house. They sort of they tried their hardest, it seems, to sort of corner us so we couldn't quite get things in place to buy this house, so that we'd be sort of trapped there for another 6 months or a year or whatever, however they wanted to work the thingy. But we got out anyway, and I completely redecorated the old house in 3 days with, like, it was like horrendous snow. I'm 27. I know that's not very old, but like, while I've been alive, it's the worst snow, you know, and it was real bad anyway. And there was no heating in the house. The boiler was fucked, and there was no like ventilation really, so I was having to do it all with windows. It was very cold and it was just shitty basically. So that's like, if you remember when this channel first started, not that I really want anyone to go back and watch older stuff, but I was basically in a bad way all the time, and I pretty much have been in that bad way until recently, to be honest with you. And I mean, like, not just being ill, but psychologically, due to like stress and trying me damnedest not to kill people, to be brutally honest with you, just to give you an idea of how stressed out I've been, and where, like, you know, people get too stressed out, they get, you know, you can get ill and stuff like that too. So I was regularly ill. A lot of my videos I sound like shit or I look like shit, and I've, like I say, for the past nearly 2 years I've felt like shit. And so we moved in this house. When we first moved in, we had to, where this thing was going to go, we were only going to buy a house mainly that could manage 3 things: that we were going to have kids at some point, that could take a fucking big aquarium in the house, and that we could sort out somewhere professionally done for all of our animals that require really good heat, ventilation, humidity, all that sort of exotic animals, right? We have some snakes that grow very fucking large. We have spiders that need to be kept safe. And there's more things I want to do with fish, basically, that requires the space. So it all seemed like good to go. And then when we got here, we started getting hurdle after hurdle after hurdle, and it was like, oh no, well you live in I forget what it's called now, but it's basically an area that's got like really extravagant views or some bollocks. They call it a conservation area. So because it was a conservation area, we had to have all this kind of planning permission and everything else on top of the architectural drawings. So we had to get the architectural drawings for an extension we had built on the back of the house, as well as a building to house all these creatures. So I got that done. Then we got planning. It was all good to go. Then I spent, I think, about 8 months, maybe 9 months, just trying to set up someone to come around and build it. I can't do stuff like that. I mean, I might have tried. I got to the point where I was tempted to try. But, for instance, on the animal side of things, it's if I might have been able to build it and stuff like that. But what happens when winter hits? I've done something wrong and I've no idea that I've done something wrong. Then to find out that I've done something wrong because it's killing off my animals, that'd be one hell of a kick in the knackers, wouldn't it? So I wanted it done properly, basically. I was prepared to spend the money on having everything done professionally. So after months and months of waiting, or bad things happening, or things not working out, or whatever, or being told, oh yeah, I'll start next week, and then a month goes by and still nothing's happened and all this sort of stuff, eventually got hold of two complete fucking idiots that I was none the wiser at the time. Built the extension. Again, if you've been watching the videos, you'll have seen the evolution of the back, what's going on behind me, which now, if you notice, it just looks, you can just see insulation. But Christmas 2018, that was finished, and the animal building was ready to be started. Architect come round that Christmas, it was ready to be plastered and all the rest of it. It was ready to be finished. And he basically said, we got snow next week, I wouldn't stand in this building if I was you, because it'll come down, and if that comes down, if anyone's in it, they'll get dead. So the whole thing had to be restarted. The two fucking morons that built it had to restart it. The point now anyway, where I started, we had to put a hell of a lot more money than we wanted to into the extension because of what happened. I started doing a lot of the things myself. The structure itself was done, so I just started doing, you know, insulation and sealing and stuff like that. Anything that I could do, I've done myself. So that was reasonably stressful, as you can imagine. So then we went back to getting the stuff done outside for the animals. Something that was meant to take between 6 to 12 weeks to do both projects turned into nearly 2 years of waiting. You know, when we had this thing done, and then it turns out that the lads didn't follow basically any of the architect's instructions. You know, so that was $3,000 wasted. It goes on and on and on. There's that much shit that happened, you know. And I eventually one day got pissed off enough to start trying to build the animal thing myself. Started digging out the footings, which I did. Dug out all the footings. All the ground around here is like it's not clay, but it's like really hard, tough ground. And there's a lot of rock and stuff in there. And like from where the animal building was going, I had to have about 9 trees, I think it was, taken out, which I didn't really want to do, but it added that much more space to the garden, you can believe. So that happened. And so while I was digging out the footings where they were, you can imagine I was still trying to dig into like a lot of tree roots and stuff like that, which was making things really, you know, it's difficult. If you've never done it yourself, people who might watch this that have done that kind of thing, they know how hard it is. So I dug out all my footings, had another look at the drawings, my architectural drawings that I had, and then realised that it wasn't necessarily footings, it was the entire space had to be as deep as I dug the footings, and then more. So I just like threw my shovel down. It's like, oh fuck, get a guy in, fuck it, start again, however long it takes. And I eventually, I didn't even know the lad to do it. This chap I was friends with came through for me, and he dug it all out in with a digger thing in a day and a half or whatever. Cement, rebar, all this different stuff. We used like a level stronger cement than we even had to use. We used rebar when we didn't have to use it, but because of some of the, like an aquarium for instance that's going in there, it's very big. I was just a bit stressed out about whether the floor could take the weight or not. Of course it could, but you know, fighting your demons in your head and stuff like that, you just keep thinking to yourself, oh, well, you know, what if it cracked or whatever, the slightest little movement in the ground and it could take the glass out, or all that sort of stuff goes through your head. So you start getting a bit over the top, and like a bit of rebar is good insurance, do you know what I mean? A bit of extra cement or whatever, or more powerful concrete, it's just insurance. So you can see in these videos and stuff now, that's where we are. After all this time, we've finally got a foundation to build off of. So this is up to date. When this video comes out, nothing more will have happened to that. I did have a patio as well built at the same time, which conveniently enough actually has fossils of coral in it. I don't know whether you can see them on the video, but what are the chances that I bought some rock that's got fossils in it actually happens to be corals that are fossilised in there for someone who does what I do. So that was a turn up for the books, and you know, I was really happy with that, and the lad really, you know, came through for me and everything else. So I was stoked with that. Just in time too, because I was really running out of places to put the bodies, lads. So yeah, the pad itself is something like 23 or 24 foot. I can't remember whether the pad itself's 24, I should know this, 24 foot long, and then once the blocks are on there, I got 23 feet of space inside or something like that. Or it's 23 space and I'll have 22 foot of space, but it's, let's say it's either 23 or 24 foot by 10. And it's like it's basically slight curve. The building's slightly curved, but it's still straight edges. So it's like that. And just to follow the shape of the garden basically, because I was trying to lose as little lawn space as possible for the dogs, because I love seeing them running around out there, and I didn't really want to take too much of that away from them if I didn't have to. So that's where we are now. It's a pretty decent sort of space. I'm planning on having sort of roughly half of it's going to be aquatics, roughly half of it's going to be basically reptiles, arachnids, maybe amphibians. I've always wanted to work with amphibians, and myself I've worked with all these kind of creatures, whether I was in college or whatever else as I've grown up. But there was a point when I was like, I can't actually remember when I started keeping marine fish, but I think I might have been 12 or 13 or something like that. And my dad basically sort of was like, it's one of the other dart frogs, dendrobates or whatever you want to call them, tinks I think they call them, or marine fish, and they're two hard hobbies to get into or to get good at. Not that I'm saying I'm good at either of them or whatever. But anyway, you know, I chose the fish and stuff like that, and I'm glad I did. I'll have a go at dart frogs, I think, one day. But yeah, so I went with that, and here we are now. This building, what will be a building, I've been drawing pictures of that my dad still has, and if I can find any of the pictures, or if he sorts any of the pictures out or anything like that, we'll get them on here and we can have a look, and you'll see that I'm telling the truth. I've genuinely been thinking of doing this since I was like 5 or some shit. You know, I got my first snake when I was 5, and I think I might have been, yeah, I think I was 5. And it's turned into this. So yeah, I'm really hoping I can get it all figured out. I want it done my way. I want it decorated basically to suit me. The end goal is, I don't know how much I want to tell you on here, because at the same time I think as time goes by, people will look at it and be like, holy shit, that's pretty cool. Or chances are there's a lot of people, I think I'm going to be a 50-50. There's going to be a lot of people that fucking really don't like me for whatever reasons. I ain't going to change or start acting bullshit for the camera. And there's going to be a load of people that think it's rad, and you know, if they can overlook certain things or whatever, or they like, you know, this, that and the other. But anyway guys, that's where we are right now. I've tried my hardest to give you the compressed version. If you live in the West Midlands and you want to know who these jokers are who did this shit work for me, let me know and I'll message you. or if there's any kind of things that I might have missed out that you might find interesting, or you want another video with a better explanation of what's gone on, let me know. Fingers crossed this is going to be the first video in a very long series, and you know, see where we end up. It's going to be a big predatory reef aquarium, so I can keep the big angelfish. Everything's going to be big. The reason everything's going to be big is because the fish I want to keep are going to be big. The aquarium that's going to go in the house is going to be somewhere in the region of 1,000 gallons. It's going to be at least I think at least 1,000 gallons collectively. It might be a bit bigger, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to have great big fish in there. It's just generally going to be big. The aquarium's going to be a room divider basically, whereas the aquarium that's going to go in the sort of animal arium or whatever you want to call it is going to have like a lot less fish and stuff. I'm still going to try and grow a reef in there, but we'll see how we get on with that. But it's being built for fish that need the space. Let's say like you get a puffer fish that's this big. I don't want an aquarium that is 2 foot back, which is still a big aquarium. Like when you see an aquarium that's 2 feet back, it's a real nice size. But just think an animal this long, turn it around, and that's how far he can swim, the length of his body. So I would want something that's like at least 4 or 5 feet back. That it's like from the side view, it's a whole nother aquarium's length, but he's going to be able to swim that back. And like at the minute, the dimensions of the one aquarium that's going to be in there is going to be somewhere in the realm of either 4 or 5 foot back, front to back, 10 feet wide, and like 5 feet deep. So that's where we are with that. And you know, I keep a lot of spiders and stuff. There's going to be spiders. I already keep big snakes. There's also snakes that I want to acquire that I've had in the past that unfortunately lost, which is another story for another day, to get my collection to its former prime, former glory, whatever. Cheers for watching. Keep strong. Carry on, mate. That's a big help, that is.
You know, I'm a guy of average size, average speed, average quickness, average looks, average intelligence, average carpentry skills. But you know what? I parlayed that into a wrestling career that, if I may say so myself, was quite excellent.